December 31st, 2025. You're making promises. 2026 will be different. You'll transform. The clock strikes 12, confetti falls, and you believe it. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Nothing changed. The new year is a lie. You've been sold this idea that January 1st is magic, a reset button, a clean slate. But your brain doesn't work that way. And pretending it does is why you fail every single year. You think when 2025 becomes 2026, your neural pathways restructure, your motivation multiplies, your discipline appears. But that's not psychology, that's mythology. And the difference is why you stay stuck. Here's what actually happens on January 1st, 2026. Nothing. You wake up the same person you were on December 31st. Same brain, same habits, same resistance to change. The only difference is your belief. This is the calendar illusion, the idea that time markers create transformation. But your brain doesn't recognize January 1st as special. It recognizes patterns, and your patterns don't reset because a clock hit midnight. Think about every New Year's resolution you've ever made. How many lasted past February? How many times have you promised yourself this time would be different? And how many times did you end up exactly where you started? The answer isn't that you lack willpower. The answer is you're trying to force transformation on a schedule that has nothing to do with how change actually works. You're manufacturing motivation on a date marketing taught you mattered. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Change doesn't happen because you want it to. Change happens because you create conditions that make it inevitable. And those conditions have nothing to do with what day it is. This is the motivation myth. You think you need to feel motivated to change, that January 1st will provide that motivation. But motivation is a feeling. And feelings are temporary. You can't build a new life on temporary feelings. Jake promised himself every new year for 5 years he'd get in shape. Every January 1st he'd join a gym, buy supplements, create a plan. And every year he'd go hard for 2 weeks, then not at all. By February he was back where he started. Until one year, Jake stopped waiting for January 1st. It was April 17th, a random Tuesday. He didn't make announcements, he just started walking every morning. That's it. No gym, no drama, just a small action repeated until it became automatic. 6 months later, Jake was in the best shape of his life, not because January 1st motivated him, but because April 17th didn't. He started on a day that meant nothing, which meant he couldn't blame the date when things got hard. This is the power of arbitrary start dates. When you remove the specialness from the date, you remove the excuse. January 1st gives you permission to fail because you'll try again next year. But April 17th doesn't offer that option. The New Year lie isn't just that January 1st will change you. It's that you need January 1st to change, that you have to wait for the perfect moment. And while you're waiting, you're not changing, you're postponing. Here's what nobody tells you about transformation. It doesn't start with a date. It starts with a decision. And that decision can happen anytime. December 11th, March 23rd, Thursday at 2 p.m. The moment doesn't matter. What you do after does. This is decision independence. You don't need external permission to change your life. You don't need a new year. You need a new action. And that action is available right now. Not on January 1st, now, this exact moment. Sarah spent years waiting for the perfect time to start her business. She told herself she'd begin on January 1st, but January came and went. She wasn't ready, so she waited until next January. The cycle repeated for 3 years. Until one day in July, Sarah had a realization. She was never going to be ready. The plan was never going to be perfect, and January 1st wasn't magic. So she started on a random Tuesday in July. Imperfect plan, just action. Within 6 months, her business was generating income, not because she waited for the right date, but because she stopped waiting. The lesson isn't that resolutions are bad. It's that tying transformation to a date gives you an excuse to delay. This is productive procrastination, the illusion that preparing to change is the same as changing. You research gyms, you buy workout clothes, you create plans, and all that activity makes you feel like you're moving forward, but you're not.
Here's the psychological trap. When you make a New Year's resolution, your brain gives you a dopamine hit, not for achieving the goal, for setting it. The act of deciding to change feels good. It creates the sensation of progress without requiring effort. This is the goal-setting high. Your brain rewards you for intention, not execution. So when you declare your 2026 resolution, you feel accomplished. You've made the plan, and your brain treats that like partial completion, which reduces your motivation to follow through. That's why people who talk about their goals are less likely to achieve them. The more you announce your intention, the more your brain believes you've already done the work. So when January 1st comes and you haven't followed through, you're disappointed again. But 2026 won't be different, because the problem isn't the year. The problem is believing a new year creates a new you. It doesn't. You create a new you through daily decisions that have nothing to do with what the calendar says. Here's what actually creates change. Small actions repeated consistently. No fanfare, no perfect start date, just repetition. Your brain doesn't care if you start January 1st or July 23rd. It cares if you repeat the behavior enough to make it automatic. This is the compound principle. Transformation isn't about dramatic moments. It's about boring consistency. One workout doesn't change your body, but one workout repeated 200 times does. And you don't need January 1st to start repeating. Michael wanted to quit drinking. Every new year, he'd declare this was the year. He'd pour out his alcohol, make announcements, feel powerful, and by February, he'd be drinking again because he thought the date mattered. Until one August, Michael stopped waiting. He quit on a random Thursday. No announcement, no ceremony, just a decision followed by action. And when cravings hit, he couldn't wait for next January. He had to deal with them now, and he stayed sober. The New Year lie is comforting. It tells you failure is temporary, that you can always start over, that redemption is one calendar flip away. And that comfort is why you keep believing it, because facing the truth is harder. This is the perpetual reset. You don't need a new year to become a new person. You need a new habit, and you can start that habit anytime, right now. But you won't, because your brain is waiting for permission from a date that doesn't care. Here's the harder truth. Most people don't want to change. They want to change. They want the idea of transformation without the discomfort. And New Year's resolutions give them that, a way to feel like they're moving without moving. This is identity theater, performing the role of someone who's changing without changing. You join the gym, but don't go. You buy books, but don't read them. You make resolutions, but don't follow through. And you tell yourself the effort counts. The reason January 1st, 2026 feels powerful is because everyone around you is participating in the same ritual. There's collective energy, social proof that this time is different, and that energy is real, but it's also temporary. This is the communal illusion, the belief that if everyone else is changing, it'll be easier for you too. But change isn't communal, it's individual. And the fact that 1 million people are making resolutions doesn't make yours more likely to succeed. Here's what you need to understand about your brain. It's designed to conserve energy, to resist change, to keep you doing what you've always done, and no amount of calendar flipping changes that design. This is the homeostatic trap. Your brain's default is stability. Every time you try to change, your brain interprets that as a threat, because change requires energy, and your brain's job is to conserve energy, so it will fight you. every single day. The only way to overcome that resistance is to make the new behavior easier than the old one, to structure your environment so the path of least resistance leads to the change you want. And that requires planning that has nothing to do with dates. But willpower is finite. It runs out fast, which is why your New Year's resolutions collapse. You're trying to force change through mental effort. And mental effort works for a few days, but eventually your brain gets tired and defaults to what's automatic. This is the willpower trap, believing you can think your way into new habits. You can't. You have to build your way into them through environmental design, through systems that make good choices automatic, through removing the need to decide every time. The New Year lie works because it gives you hope without requiring evidence. It says 2026 will be different, and you believe it, because believing feels better than accepting you're the same person you were yesterday. Here's the shift that changes everything. Stop waiting for January 1st. Stop waiting for Monday. Stop waiting for the right moment. Start now, on whatever day you're reading this, with whatever habit you've been postponing. Not perfectly, just start. This is the immediate action principle. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is now. Not January 1st, 2026, now. And the reason now is better is because now removes the excuse. You can't tell yourself you'll start later. You've been taught that transformation requires the right conditions, the right mindset, the right timing. But transformation doesn't require any of that. It requires action, repeated action, boring, unglamorous, consistent action. This is the action gap, the space between knowing what you should do and actually doing it. And that gap doesn't close because the calendar changes. It closes because you decide the gap is unacceptable and you act despite not feeling ready. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've known for years. You don't need more information. You don't need a better plan. You don't need January 1st, 2026. You need to stop negotiating with yourself and start. Because here's what happens when you start small on a random day. You remove the pressure. You're not trying to transform overnight. You're just taking one step. And that step doesn't require motivation. It just requires deciding that waiting is over. This is the micro-start strategy. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to make a massive change, you start now with the smallest possible version. Want to work out? Do 5 push-ups today. Want to write? Write 1 sentence. Don't wait for permission. The new year will come. January 1st, 2026 will arrive, and millions will make promises they won't keep. They'll believe the lie one more time, and by February, they'll be disappointed again, wondering why change is so hard. But change isn't hard because of when you start. It's hard because of whether you continue. And you can't continue something you never started. So stop waiting for January 1st. Stop waiting for permission. Start today. Start now. Because the date you start doesn't matter. The person you become does. And that person isn't waiting for the calendar. They're waiting for you to stop believing in lies and start believing in action.